Hello everyone, welcome to the session about Master Data Management System, our app for Dynamics 365 Business Central and also previous version of Microsoft Dynamics NAV, provided in order to maintain the data consistency across multiple companies within the group. This session will be provided by Max Meller.
Hello, I am Maximilian Meller. I am developer consultant. I have been working in IT Integra since 2016. I am responsible for Master Data Management System and other global projects.
And Krzysztof Zieliński, I'm in sales, 11 years with IT Integro. I'm dealing mostly with our global customers and also partners that are providing services to their own global customers. In this session, we'll cover several topics. So briefly, the agenda. We'll provide you with some background about the company and the solution. We'll provide you with the information about the concept and the architecture of Master Data Management System. Then the demo, which will be provided by Max. Some technical topics that are quite frequently asked by the partners, and the pricing information. So a few words about IT Integro, who is the vendor of this solution. IT Integro is the company that is focused on Dynamics 365 Business Central, previously known as Dynamics NAV. Which is the only ERP system that we implement. We have currently in 2021, which is the year when we record this session, 190 employees. We are 30 years on the market, and the parts dedicated to apps is the growing part of the company. However, we are still primarily the project-oriented company. So majority of the apps that we deliver, that are the apps that were initially needed on our own projects. So the experience with our own customers gave the inspiration to build these apps, and that was also the case with Master Data Management System. So in today's session, we will cover that solution, Master Data Management System. However, IT Integro provides many more other apps. 3 of them can be called together global apps, because they are dedicated to the same target market of global multi company organizations, and 2 others are advanced intercompany, the solution to provide quite comprehensive support for the intercompany processes within Business Central, as we see that the same functionality that is provided for Business Central within the standard is typically for intercompany processes is typically not sufficient, and the enhancements are needed typically by the customers. So the broader functionalities is included in advanced intercompany. Intercompany Insights, on the other hand, is the solution to share the data across multiple companies within the group. So you are this way able to share, for example, the information about the item availability or customer balances, and this way to make some decisions on if you, for example, if you are going to sell something to the company that has the overdue balance in the other companies within your group. For the other apps delivered by IT Integro, we are very well known because of the Polish localization for Business Central, the official solution for to localize Business Central on the market of Poland, and HR and Payroll Manager for Poland as well. And in total, we have currently around 200 resellers worldwide, and we sell these solutions through the partner channel since the year 2000. In terms of master data management system itself, this solution has been provided since the year 2010, and initially through our own customers. So we used this solution primarily on our own projects. So far, this solution is used by over 100 corporate groups. You can see some of the examples of these groups on the screen. We estimate that in those companies there are around 800 companies that are every day exchanging data and synchronize data with master data management system. Since the year 2019, we started promoting this solution also through the partner channel, which is currently growing very well. We have around 40 partners that are starting to sell this solution to their own customers, and we see the huge growth in that area as well. Now, in terms of the need of the solution to maintain data consistency in Business Central, the need is rooted in the fact that in Business Central each company manages the data on its own, no matter what is the architecture of the group. If all of the companies are on the same database or tenant, or on some separate databases, or even different data centers, the thing is the same. That the companies may trade, for example, with the same physical item, may use the same system, even the same version of the system, but without the third-party solution to manage data, or some extension or customization to handle that, the customer will sooner or later face the inconsistencies in terms of the data within the system, which has many disadvantages. So in order to solve that, we create the master company within the master data management system, and this master company is dedicated to maintain master data that will be standardized across all of the companies within the group. And this differs depending on the customer and the needs. Typically the customers synchronize item data, and then depending on the needs, it's the chart of accounts that is synchronized. Sometimes customers, sometimes vendors, dictionaries, dimensions, etc. So basically, you can synchronize any table data that is in Business Central, no matter if it is the standard table or any customization, third-party app, or extension, etc. In terms of the setup, you will see the details on the demo, but the basic setup is in the master company. You need to set up the receivers, the companies that will receive the data from that master company, the data sets that represent the data structure. Then you need to set up the replication in different options. And by using web service, you publish the data to the local company. So let us now switch to the demo, which will be provided by Max.
Okay, thank you, Krzysztof. So I'm presenting now on the newest Business Central tenant, and I have here created few companies. One is the Kronos Master, which represents master data company. So here I store master data. And few receivers. I will focus on Kronos Denmark, Kronos Germany, and Kronos Poland. So at the beginning, we have to indicate that the current company is the master company. So to do that, I'm going to the MDMS setup page. And here I have to mark that this is a master company. So in general, communication is from master company to the receiver. However, we can set up the tree structure that we have one master, main master, and then submasters and receivers. However, again, the communication is always go from up to down. So when you enable master company, that enable many functionalities, such as example is the changelog. So MDMS has own changelog to track operation on the table. So if you decide to replicate items, then insert, modify, rename or delete. Those operations are tracked on the on this company. Okay, so now let's continue. The first structure to set up there are receivers. So receivers represent the companies. So I'm going to the receiver list and open receiver card. So normally we have one receiver per one company, and in that case I have a receiver for Kronos Denmark. So this is a simple number and description. Then we have to specify the communication, and for currently we have two authentication methods, which is a basic and Azure Active Directory. So now we can use basic for on-prem and online installation. In next Business Central release, only way for online installation will be Azure Active Directory. However, let's focus now on basic. So only way to communicate their web services. So when you install MDMS in the receiver company, then the web service is automatically published. So you have to switch to the receiver, go to the web services page, copy address and paste on the receiver card. Then we have to specify credentials. So for basic authentication is a username and password. So, well, if you are using on online installation, the password, the best it will be the web service access key generated on the user card. Please also remember that if the receiver is in different SQL Server environment, then that user has to be created there because it's used in the receiver company to authenticate web service. Finally, when everything is set up, we can go to the actions and test connection. And if it's successful, you shouldn't have any issues with communication afterwards. Okay, so to sum up, receivers represent companies, and here we define to who we would like to replicate data. Then next place to set up, there are data sets. So data sets represent data structure. So here we are defining the global scope, so fields and tables. And I have here a few examples. So let's focus on finance data set. So it's simple, small data set with common table, with basic finance table. So in the general, I have number and description. And the status, so only release data sets can be used in the replication. So if you need to change something, you have to open a data set. And then on the line level, we have to specify table number. So here, this is a source table from the current company, from current SQL server. So you can choose any table. It can be standard, customized, or add-on. Only limitation here is the system tables, but this is a platform limitation. you can replicate system tables. Then the code name and table name, they are automatically populated here. Then we have number of dataset fields. So those information means how many fields are included for that table. You can see list of fields in the fact box, or we can navigate there by line and fields. What is important here that when you add new table, then MDMS always add the primary key fields because they are required to replicate. They are used to compare whether record exists or not. Then we have number of table records. So it's a simple just number of the records from current Kronos master company. So it doesn't matter if you adjust filters on dataset line or not. This is a simple number without any filtering. Then we have target table number. So this is the destination table number. You can look up table. However, you can also put here any value, and this relation is not validated. So that gives you possibility to map one table to a different table. So example can be maybe you have some temporary tables for migration purpose or other upgrades. Maybe you have different environment with different version, and some tables can have different numbers. You can do that mapping. Then we have on record exist. So again, when MDMS replicate data, then always compare primary key and decide whether override record or insert new one. So if it's update, then both operation appear. So new records are insert and existing one are override. If it's skipped, then only new records will be inserted. Then we have two options: disable local insert and disable local delete. So maybe I'll update this option. So let me reopen. Okay. So for GL account, I have marked that I block local insert and local delete. So the local is a keyword here. When we replicate data, we also send metadata, which are those three fields, and they are stored in the hidden hidden table, so it's not visible in user interface. And when user try to insert or delete new GL, then receive error message. So it's a kind of record protection. Then we have field block exclude filter, and the filter doesn't mean that we are filtering data to be replicate, which are replicate. We just make exception of those blocking rules. So in that case, if the GL number is between this range, user can insert, delete, or modify this field. Then, and of course, we can combine. Here is the Business Central expression, and can be any. You can also combine many expressions here. You can also put here comma and combine many filters. So you can filter by number and also by different field. Then we have last two fields here. They are more technical, but run trigger on insert and run trigger on modify. So in general, in Navision or Business Central, when we insert or modify record, it can be done with true parameter or false. If it's true, then business logic behind this trigger will be fire up. Also, many events in the system which can be connected to on insert operation. Then they have parameter in run trigger, so you can manipulate this parameter using those two fields. So finally, when we have set up the dataset lines, we can go to the details. So I can highlight correct line, go to the line and fields. So here I have all included fields in that replication, in that dataset, sorry. So you can choose field manually by specify field number or using the add fields action. And here you can see all fields from this table except three types, so blob, media, and media sets. Those types are not supported by MDMS due to performance, so they always stored large objects like pictures, bitmaps, so we don't want to replicate that kind of data. You cannot see here the obsolete fields. This is a Business Central limitation that if field or table is obsolete, then you cannot replicate, you receive error message. Then the code and the field name are automatically populated. Then we have target field number. So it's similar to target table number, is a destination field number. And again, you can put here any value, it's not validated. So you can do mapping between two fields. So again, maybe in the different systems you have the same field can have different number, or you would like to just put value from one field to different. Then we have validate field. So this option fire up the standard validate trigger. So field value can be assigned just simple by equal sign, without any logic and validation, or with validate. So means that business logic behind this trigger will be fire up. Also the relation will be validated. So if you, for instance, create a new item card with kg based unit of measure, and it will be replicated to receiver. And if you don't validate, and kg doesn't exist in this receiver, so if you don't validate field, then the value will be just simple assign. If you validate field, then you receive synchronization error that the kg doesn't exist. Then we have disable local modification. So on the dataset line, we can block insert and delete. However, we have technical possibilities to track modification per field, and that's why we can throw error when these fields included here are modified. So if some fields are not included in the dataset fields, then of course can be still modified in the receiver company. Then we have processing order. So it's similar to processing order on the configuration packages. So it's an order in which data, the fields will be uploaded. If you have many validation and there can be some problems with logic behind those triggers, in order how the code is fire up, you can change this logic here. Then we have keep local value. So keep local value is for initialize field. So when you create a new record and send to the receiver, you can, if you mark keep local value, the next modification of this record will not override that value. So example, if the search name will keep local value, then new GL in new GL there will be search name, but afterwards user can modify this field and next replication will not override it again. Then we have skip export. So if line is skipped from export, means in all places in MDMS it's excluded from any process, so from synchronization or others. So it's very useful if you have some synchronization errors or you would like to temporarily just switch off this field, but not remove whole setup. You can use skip export. Okay. And finally, before I will release dataset, one thing also about the filtering. So I can highlight dataset line and go to the line and filters and adjust filter for this table. So the currency is here, so I can choose any field like code and then put the filter. So this is a value field, so it's in a field in table, so it's limited to 250 characters. So I can put, for instance, that I would like to replicate all currencies different than DKK. Important part is that this filter is per dataset. So if you use this finance dataset on few replication, then in all places this filter will be adjusted. So probably it's not the best example here. Also, you can of course specify adjust many filters for many fields here. Okay, but let me delete it now. And finally, I can release dataset. And because I have few replication which use this dataset, I can use where use feature and release all of them. Okay, and before I will go to the replications, one word about the items dataset. So here I have item table and item of measure, and as you see here we have additional space, which means we have relation between those two tables. That relation is done by using increase Indian function, and because on the MDMS setup we have button to automatically assign relation based on primary key, don't care about that. However, you always can go to the line and relation and define relation between those two tables by yourself. This is not something mandatory that relation should be based on primary key. If you have any connection between two tables, you can just specify this connection here. So in that case, the item number from item of measure has a relation to the parent field number from the items. Why we need dataset relation? So you can the main reason is actually in many places we are checking relation, but the main reason is that the items can be the set of items can be limited. There can be some adjusted filters or other setup. So for instance, to Kronos Denmark, maybe I will replicate only half of all items. So I would like to include only connected unit of measures and do not send not needed data. So now we can continue. So to sum up, receivers represent the companies, so information to who we would like to replicate, and data set represent the data structure, so information our global scope, so information what we would like to replicate. Then finally, the last place to set up is the replications. So let me take example finance to Kronos Denmark. So in the replication header, I have to specify the number. By the way, it can be from the number series defined on the MDMS setup. Then description. I like to have some area information about area and receiver. Then receiver number, so it's Kronos Denmark. And the status is also important here because many things in the system has been done per replication. So if replication is open, then MDMS don't care about it. And on the dataset, on the replication line, we can specify the data sets. I have only one finance, however, of course, it's relation one to many, so you can have many here. Before I start with the process, also here or in the Fatbox, you see that there's filter adjusted for this line. So again, like on the data set here, I can go to the line and filters and adjust filter in the same way. So here is a filter for currency different than DKK. And this filter makes sense because we don't want to send local currency to the Kronos Denmark. And because filter is adjusted on the replication, it's per replication, so it's per receiver in that case. If you have filters adjusted in both places, so on the dataset and replication, then if it's for the same field, then the higher priority has a replication. If for different fields, of course, two filters are adjusted. Okay, so finally we can start with the process. So the process is split into two parts. First part, we have to create entries, and for that we have run actions, so run full or run incremental. And then we have synchronize action, which use web service to send data to the receiver. So let me start with run full. So when I run full, the entries has been created, and actually this action doesn't based on any log. This is just simple loop which go through all tables included in the finance dataset and create entries. And of course it takes adjusted setup. So if I have filter for currency, so if I switch down, I will not find here the DKK currency. So of course it takes a whole setup. However, it doesn't based on any log. And so now I have pending entries. The most important here is that we have the entry type update. So for new or for operation of insert and modify, we have update. Then we have full or incremental or other types. However, it's for now we have full. A record ID, target table number, target table name, and the status. So status is new when entries will be proceed. So synchronize, the status will proceed, and we have also status error. So if there will be some issues, then the status will be error, and error text will be included in the error text field. And finally, we have information about the dataset and receiver. So now I can synchronize those records by using synchronize action. Now the MDMS uses web services to send this data to the receiver to the Kronos Denmark. Okay, next replication type, so next run action is run incremental. If I run it now, there is no entries. It's because nothing happened in the meantime, because we just push everything using full replication. So log is empty now. So I can go to the payment terms, which is included in the finance dataset. Let's add new one. Okay, like that. And now I can come back to my replication and run incremental. And there is only one entries for these payment terms. So this kind of operation is faster by design, and for daily use you should use the run incremental. So we can now synchronize this record. Okay, and that was manual way how we can work with the replication. But of course you can set up job queue manually, or you can use action functions and create job queue entry action. There is a question, should be incremental or full, so I suggest incremental. So it's only a matter of good schedule here, and in the parameter string you have the replication code and type. But let me delete it now. Okay, now I will create a new GL, replicate, and switch to the Kronos Denmark, and I will show you how records are protected. So I'm going to the chart of accounts, and here will be the 1186 demo. That. Okay, so new GL has been created. Now I'm going to the replication, run incremental. There is one pending entries, so synchronize. Then I'm switching to the Kronos Denmark company. Okay, so now I'm going to the chart of accounts. So as you see here, the new GL is already here. Before I would verify whether I can delete or not, I have to check if I am not super user. Yes, I am. Okay. So, this new GL, of course, I don't have any entries here. This is a fresh company, so I can just try to delete something. So if I try to delete this GL, there will be error message that delete is not allowed. If I try to insert, the same, but for insert. It's because it's blocked on the data set in the Kronos master. If I try to change the description, again error, now it's connected to modify. But if I assign maybe product, maybe here, vendor posting group, I can do it because that field wasn't included, it's not included in the dataset. And on the dataset we have also block exclude filter, so exception of this blocking rule. So if I try to create a new GL, this one exists, so maybe that number. So this number is included in on the block exclude filter range. That's why I can create this record. And the last thing about record protection, so there is a structure in MDMS user setup. If I am marked as MDMS super user, all blocking rules, so all those protections is skipped. So now I can just simply go to the chart of accounts and, for instance, delete this record without any errors. Okay, let me come back to the Kronos master company. Okay, so now I would like to present you the few advanced features. So first will be the group receiver. So I'm going to the receivers page, and I have here created Europe receiver, which is marked as the group receiver. When it's marked, then those two fast tabs are disabled, but I have a new one, group receiver lines, where I can aggregate many receivers. And then on the replication, I can just choose this Europe receiver on the header. So if you have some group of receivers which always receive the same data, so in that case those three receivers always receive the same customers, then you can create one replication instead of three, so you have one job queue instead of three. Of course, if the volume of data is very large, then maybe it's better to split into three, but it's something to verify during analysis. So when I run full, for instance, for this, and go to the entries, then all records has been created for all receivers into group. Okay. The next feature will be how can I cancel pending entries if there are some issues. So we have two ways. So I will use those entries here. You can just highlight some entries on the list and cancel. Or you can cancel whole package using the cancel recursive entries action. Okay. Then the next feature will be record level. So it's advanced filtering. So to use record level, you have to install external extension. It's very simple and described fully on our documentation. So you can even copy paste. So I can show you. We have in event subscription. In the record level section, there is an example of the function of the object which can be just copy paste, and this is very simple. Then, when that extension has been installed, we can go to the setup. So I'm going to the item list, and then this extension adds the receiver action. So this action, when it's used, open MDMS page called record receivers. So on this page we can see all receivers. And you can just mark so that this item 1000 should be replicated to Kronos Denmark. This one to Kronos Germany, and this one to all of them. So it's a matter of setup here. We have also many functions and events to more automate that process. However, still that requires some setup here. And when the setup is done, and you proceed the replication for items. I run for this. I have 23 entries. When I run for Kronos Germany, I have only 10 entries. For Kronos Poland, I have only 4 entries. So MDMS knows the setup and create entries. By the way, we have also a related item unit of measure, because we have relation on the data set. So that's why we don't have all of them, but only related. Okay, so the next feature will be how we can delete records from master. So actually, how in general how records deletion works. So at the beginning, we can block record delete from master. To do that, on the MDMS setup, we have to mark block record delete. We have also block record rename. So to show you, I have to switch off my MDMS super user. So if I go to the payment terms, which is a tracked table means is on this payment terms is included in the finance data set, and this one is included in on the replication. So MDMS track operation on this field. So if I try to delete this record, I receive error message that the table is being replicated and delete is not allowed. The same will be, by the way, for rename operation. So this is a kind of protection in the master company. Then, if I'm MDMS super user, I can try delete records. Doesn't matter if it's blocked or not. So I have two options. First, I can do it directly from the record. So I can go to the payment terms, try to delete. There is information that MDMS using web service try to delete in all companies that was sent to. And if I confirm, then I have, as the result, I have information from which receiver has been deleted, with which status, and if there is success in all receivers, then finally record can be deleted from master. Then we have the next place is the MDMS records management. It's a special worksheet used not only for record delete, but you can delete also. So we have to choose replicated table. So can be payment terms again. You can adjust filters. So we have free fields for filtering. So here to choose, you have to choose the field, and here put the value. But let's calculate without. So here I have the combination of record ID and the receivers, and empty receiver number and strong font means that this is the master company. So I can decide. So I will delete this one from Kronos Poland. Here I will delete from all of them, also from master, and here I will try to delete only from master. So after records are selected, then I can delete records. And here's a success, here's a error, because record cannot be deleted if exists in the receivers. And if I calculate again, I see only records which are not deleted. So it's because in the history of MDMS, we also track the record delete. So I have few information about the record ID, about receiver, and also empty receiver, which means the master company. Then next feature is one-time replication. So again, that functionality required from you to install the separate extension, because again we don't know on which structure you would like to use this feature. So there's extension for items. Again, you can copy paste from the documentation. So on the item list, I have new action called one-time replication. So I can highlight a few records and click one-time replication. And then for all the replications which are set up, the entries has been created. So entries has been created, and then I can synchronize them. So the advantages of this functionality is you can trigger replication directly from the list, and it works like full, so it takes all fields included on the data set. Also, we have special setup for that on the MDMS one-time replication setup, which is called include child. So if you trigger one-time replication for record item 1000 and there are related items of measure, they are also included. Okay, and the last feature is check record status. So then functionality can be run from two places. One is the MDMS records management page. So I can filter by item, and here I can choose the field number and I just filter 1000, then action and calculate. So I have some records. I can of course calculate more records here. And there are not, okay. So I can choose the lines and then use the get record status action. And here I have, for those combination, I have calculated status, whether a record is updated or not. Depending on the setup, we can compare the value between the receiver and the master. And if status is not up to date, then we can use one-time replication to quickly update fields from this view. And the second place to use this functionality is the structural list. So again, that requires external extension. In that case, we have check item record status also for items. And again, you can copy paste it from the documentation. So on the item list, I can go to the action and use check record status. And here I have result. So for all combinations which are defined, I see the status, and again I can update records. Okay. So the last thing that I would like to show you is our documentation. So like I said, for record level, check record status, and one-time replication, we have you can just copy paste our code and it will work. So only what you should decide for which structure you would like to use this functionality. We have also section where we describe functions and events which are external, so you can use them. And for instance, we have event on before export. This event gives you possibility to exclude record from the package or include. So you have information about the replication, receiver, record, and others, and you can decide, okay, maybe if receiver is Kronos Denmark, then this is some special exception, and I would like to exclude this record. Also, we have events which are invoked in the receiver company. So when we upload data, then the event is fire up, and example of use that event can be if you have maybe you replicate items from let's say with Europe company to the China, where the item description is of course different, so it's stored in the item translation table. So during the import in the Kronos China, you can override description using the item translation table. We have also even on before export field, which give you possibility to override field value. So in the master company, so before we send something, we can just override that value. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Max. So let's continue with some additional information about the solution, like availability. So the MDMS has been first introduced for the version NAV 2009 Classic, and then released for each new release of Dynamics NAV and now Business Central, with the remark that the version for AL has been provided since the version Business Central 14, and so this is the borderline between the classic CL version and the app version. This is also important in terms of the supported versions, because for all of the app versions we release the new features. And these new features that are currently provided, they are no longer implemented for the previous versions of MDMS. You can also find MDMS on App Source, and we recommend to use this version as a trial, as the first step to learn more in practice about this solution. In terms of synchronization methods, we are quite often asked about the possibility to synchronize across different versions of NAV or Business Central. So the basic answer is yes, it is possible, no matter what version you are on. With a few remarks, they are related to the history of this solution, because initially we used files to exchange data between the companies. For some reasons, at that point of time, that was the better solution than web services. And web services were introduced since NAV 2017. After the migration to the app version, we use only web services, as you could see on the demo provided by Max. So the answer is that if you are on the version between NAV 2009 until Business Central 13, where you can use files, you can exchange data with no any issues via files. The same thing for versions since NAV 2009 until Business Central 18, you can use web services. If you would like to exchange data between, for example, NAV 2009 and Business Central 18, then you would need to have the master company set up on one of those versions with both files and web services to share the data with the local companies in one of these two formats. In terms of the differences between the software as a service and the on-prem version, there are no any differences in terms of functionality. So the same thing that you could see on the demo just before, which was on the SaaS version, can be achieved with the on-prem version. In terms of the languages available, currently we provide 14 languages for MDMS, but if needed, we are open to work with the partners to deliver new languages if this is such a requirement. In terms of pricing, the price depends on the number of full users in either the Business Central or NAV license. So the full users in Business Central would mean that we take into account only the essential or premium users. We do not count the number of devices or team members. And the price is either €5 per user per month for subscription, and that also relates to the cloud version, or €120 per user for the perpetual. For the bigger customers, we can provide the version with the flat fee of either €500 per month for subscriptions, or €12,000 per month, €12,000 for perpetual. If you have, of course, it is all based on the assumption that we have all of these companies under the same Business Central or NAV license or tenant. If there are more tenants or more NAV licenses where you need to install a master data management system, then these fees would be calculated separately for each license or tenant. And for such scenario, we can discuss some special conditions for the end customer. In terms of the distribution model, we always provide this solution via the partner. So for those of you who are the end customers interested in this solution, please get in touch with your Dynamics 365 Business Central partner to get more details and to get the access to the solution. And this also refers to the software as a service version. For the new partners, we recommend the three-step approach, quite short approach, which is the introduction webinar, then the second step, the advanced training after signing the partner agreement, and then in the last step we can assist the new partner in the first initial setup for the first company in the form of some workshop. In terms of some useful links that are available, as said, we would recommend to use the free 1-month trial on AppSource. There is the documentation for MDMS that is available for anyone. You do not need to be the partner to access the documentation. We recorded, actually Max recorded quite a lot of useful training videos which will help you to introduce yourself into the solution. You can also register for next webinars that we organize quite frequently, and you can also get some more details on the other global apps called Advanced Intercompany and Intercompany Insights on our website businesscentralglobalapps.com. So thanks for your time for this session. We hope that was useful for you. That was the introduction and the overview of all of the major topics related to this app. However, we could go deeper in many things. So if there are any questions, if you would be interested to know more, please drop us an email. You will find it in the description to this video, and let's stay in touch. So thanks for your time and goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye.